recording. Think I'm able to record it seems. So you're able to see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay. Yeah, it is recording. Okay. So today we'll be discussing the two concepts. What we left earlier in the last class is the template driven approach. We have, as I told in the class, there are two kinds of forms, okay, in the Angular. So we can create the forms, user forms, in two ways. One is template driven forms, which I have covered in the last class, and today I'm going to cover the new concept called the reactive forms. So basically reactive forms is not related to completely React, but the completely it's the forms which is completely driven from the TypeScript. So hence it's a dynamic way of generating the forms or controlling the forms control completely through the TypeScript. So for description will be reactive form. Okay, it's a module. I don't need this. I'll just open it. Form template driven reactive forms. See, basically, based on my experience and the standard of Angular, I mean the best practices in terms of Angular. So whenever you go with the form design, so better to go with this one, reactive form, because we can easily control and we can easily dynamic feed the data dynamically, and you can easily control and validate, and ease of maintenance is very good, and less code completely we can handle through TypeScript rather than writing a lot number of codes in HTML file. We can write all the validations, measures, or the complex logic, application logic, and loading, resetting, everything can be done in the TypeScript. So that is the reason the forms which has huge number of inputs, and we can change very dynamically, and add fields, remove fields, and show the messages with respect to the customization. The best approach is reactive forms. I think they all explained here only. Okay, if you want you can go through this. Just I open the page from the Angular documentation. So you just you can go through. If you get any doubts, let me know. So before going to this, so we'll start our practical. I mean how we can generate the reactive forms, how we can do the validation, what is the difference between the template driven and the reactive. So we'll cover it. Okay, so can I start?
Okay.
You no need to go description, right? For this you can read it.
Yes.
So just I open this page. That's it. I wanted to show on this one.
Okay.
For to enable reactive forms in our project, we have to include this module, reactive forms module, in our main module or core module wherever you're using. So currently my main module is this one, app. What is that? App module. So I have already included reactive forms module. So this is coming from this guy, Angular/forms. So for template driven, we no need to include any other module other than this forms module. But for reactive forms, we have to include both. Okay, reactive forms module, forms module. So then only we can make use of all the features of reactive forms module. Otherwise, if you not import, it will throw an error. Okay, so I've already created one component in the forms, like this one. This is nothing to do. This empty forms. Sorry, not this template reactive forms, because this has a class and this and this one. I'll go with this one. So as I told, to enable the reactive forms, you have to include forms group class from hash at Angular/forms. So this I have created here, and I need to create few fields in the TypeScript only. This dot are from, okay, and this would be the new form group. Okay, here inside that it takes an object. My field names, like use first name. I'll use F name, and you have to use new form control. and it accept, this is a method, it accept initial value null. Okay, I will start this field as initially null, and I'll show the later notes how to validate it and how to feed the initial value later notes. For simple, now I'll show the easiest form to create from the reactive form. Last name, and this should be new, sorry, new form control, and this should be null. And what about like this, mobile, these are the fields. Okay, I'm creating it, new form control, and I will initializing this with null, and mobile after that, email. Okay, I'm not using any CSS for styling here, just the core features of the reactive forms. New control, again null, and last but not the least, this one is, sorry, not here, bad. Here I'll come to address. Okay, new form control and null. Okay, these are my fields created. Now I need to map this.
Vittal, is it mandatory to pass the value as null?
It's not, because it accepting some parameters. So if you provide it some with value, right, it will initialize with that value.
Okay.
Okay.
If we leave it empty, then what will happen?
I need to check what. Basically, it won't create. I mean, this one. We'll check that. Okay. First, initially check.
Yeah.
After that, we can remove this null, because it's not a mandatory. It is not showing any error.
Yeah.
Okay. Now after that, what? Okay. Now I have created a forms and form control, and I need to map to my HTML. So I'll go to my HTML page. Okay. Here, create a div, and in the description, h1 reactive forms. Now I'll be creating a form. Okay, inside that I have a div. Now I'll create one field, div, and this is my input. Okay, and before that I need to start with label. This is first name, and here type equal to text, and after that name. So I need to pass the same name which I've used here, this one.
Yep, name.
Okay, then only it will build the relation between this element and that one. And sorry, not this, I'll tell you this. You can use here first name. Okay, or you can use that as well, or you can use the same name. And we have the property called form control name, this one. This should be similar
Okay.
to that one. Okay, now it builds the relation between that element and that object here. Okay, now I'll be repeating this. Okay, 5 fields, right? And this first name and last name, and this one again same thing. And here I think mobile I've used, and email I've used, and here I need to change this name, last name. Mobile. This is email label. Okay, now I have,
You need to change the name field as well.
yeah, last name, mobile, email, address. Yeah, I'll change that. Okay, last name, copy with this, and email. And so I have one more field, right? So I'll be using
Address.
for that label address. So for that I'll use the text area component. Okay, and the same thing I can use name, shall copy address, and the form control name will be same as like that. Address. Okay, now this is done, and here I have a form, so I've initialized with this form, so I'll be using that in my form. So I'm building the relationship between here form group, and okay, now the reactive forms which I created in the reactive the TypeScript and in HTML, I build the relationship, but still it is not yet over. So within the form, I'll be having the button, submit button, and type okay, submit, and here submit form, and here I'm not attaching any click event. I can, the Angular is giving me to submit the forms with ng submit event, so I'm using that on submit. I'm not passing any value from this to here. Okay, we can do that as well, but we have to use the features which is providing from the Angular. So I'll just create this on submit. Okay, I'll console the value which I typed in that box. Form values. So this dot reactive form or form dot value. So, okay.
Vittal, what will be the difference when you click event to button or when you use this ng submit? Now you used the ng submit instead of click event, right?
In that one, so the validation will not be considered properly if you use here click event. Okay, sometimes we have to use that disable button and everything, right? So I think the both are same only. There's no much difference, but in this one, what we have to do, we can pass the values from what I think there's no different. What I believe, we'll just check that. Okay, I think there's no different, but this guy is giving the flexibility to use the Angular features from the out of the box, but not with this one. Like this is normal approach what we have to do, but we'll check that both. Okay, by providing the click event here and this one, I think both should work.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, let's see the output. I need to run it. Just, I think I've disabled it. Okay, now I'm able to see the form, and I'll be providing some. I'm keying some information to this form. But it's not taking. Okay. Not validating it, just I'm providing it. Okay, submit my form. Okay, I got the values. First name until last name. Okay, mobile is this, and email is this, and address is this. Okay, is that clear? How to build the basic reactive forms?
Yeah.
Okay, now we'll move to this validation part. Okay.
And now here you just changed your component name in the app component, right? To load the reactive form.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
if you have, I'm not sure whether you'll cover it later, but yeah, if you have to route from one of the form to another, then so in the app component you'll give the initial component, and in the other component you'll provide the late
Yeah, that
latest
link that will be part of in the router. Okay, I'll explain that.
Yeah.
That is the next
Okay.
class. Okay, that is part of a router concept, because navigating from one component or through link or through URL, that is all a router.
Okay.
Okay, now I'll remove this null. I'll just check what happens. Nothing is working as it is. Okay. Initially, if you provide, what happens? The initial value. If you want to provide initial value to the form, you can use this one. Okay. It's loading, right? The default values.
Yeah.
For that purpose, we have to. But the best practice is initially load with null value. Okay, do not.
Okay.
It is string there. It takes in a different direction, but better to use a null initial node value. Now I'll use null, and I will move to validation part. So for that, the next object is an array, next parameter. So to use validators, this is a method where to import it from Angular library. This one forms, it is imported, and it will provide by default validations here. Validators dot min length. Okay, I'm using some 3 and comma again. Next validators and the max length some 5 or 6. Okay, and what validators dot required. Okay, this field is required. This is how we can validate the field. It's easy, right?
Yep.
It's also required, and the mobile minimum length is not required for this. Only max length about 10. And this also required, and validators dot email. Okay, this takes standard validation, and you can just check what are the validations we have by default. Okay, here I'll put max length argument and this. So I'll use max length about some 100 characters. Okay, right. Now I'll go to my HTML page. Initially I'll make this button as disabled. Okay, on what condition? Disabled when form is what is the form name? R form name valid, and disable takes the reverse value, so I will negative this. Okay, let's check
Yeah.
what are the things. How when it got disabled and it enabled. So by default the button is disabled, you're not able to click. Now I'll provide. Okay, I'm not providing this. So max length is 10 here, right? 6 and 961 and email standard validation and some address. So still it is disabled because I have not provided the last name. I'll provide one still because minimum length is 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Enabled. And we'll check max length. Max length is fine. So it is disabled. So min and max length is working fine for all the fields. Let's still submit it. So this is my form. Okay, this is the validations and how we can show the validation messages is the next topic. Is that clear, this one?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll go to here.
And all the styling you will do only using SCSS, right? We can't
Uh,
do anything using the TypeScript and all.
through TypeScript we cannot do here. We can, I mean, we can use that view child and this one, but the better to do with this one only, the SCSS class or inline CSS if it is needed. So this is my validation section, the message to show to the user, and I will enable, okay, and by default I'll show that span. Okay, I'm using this. First name is required. First, please enter first name. Please enter first name. Okay. Now when how to show that? Star njf. Okay. The form dot get, and this is my name. Okay. It is here. So this is string. How to use it? And when there is error on this field, the error means the validation is not fit. I mean, the validation is not validated properly. Then it will show the message. I'll show that. Okay. Now by default, it is showing. Please enter the first name. Okay. Now it is going. But how to? I mean, how not to show in the load initial value? But it is displaying on the load. I don't want to see that initially. Now I'll enable that. Star ngf. This is structural directive again to hide and show the fields from the Angular. From the HTML, this is the feature which is provided from the Angular. So what? R form dot get, and the field name would be of name, and only if it is touched. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
See, now it is not showing. So at the moment user touches that, that is enabled. Okay, now I'll move to the next field. See, let's
Okay.
the first name. Okay, now I will add a class for this. Validation message. So this is the class. I'll go with this. Here I will use font weight, bold, and color would be red. Why it's not taking? Why I haven't saved it? Okay, please enter first. So this is clear. The validation messages. So we can use the validation message for any other. Okay, I have a minimum length for this one, right? Okay. Validation message again. I'll change this. Please enter first name with minimum first name within 3 and 8 letters, or any, you can use any message. So you can use it for error validation dot error. How we can use here valid valid. We check what is that. Okay, it's required, and errors. Min length, is it correct? Okay, what have to just I'm checking it. Okay, min length. I have to copy with this, and again I have to use this one and condition. Let me check with this. The min length of null cannot read property of min length. Okay, what is this here? Valid validation message from get errors. Is that one? Errors. Okay, we'll just check in it. Errors. Get definite errors mean length. Here I can get it seems. LENGTH. Okay. What's happening? This both are displaying. Please enter first name. Please enter first name 3 and 8. Okay. I'll use the inside div here. Message. This is another message. Please enter first name. Okay. I'll use 1, 2, 3 and mental appear, disappear. Please enter first name and okay, let me comment this. Okay, I need to check this as well. And condition. Max length. Let's find that message. Max length. Name this. It should disappear, right? At the moment I entered. Minimum is 26. Okay. I'll explain that later. Okay, I'll just check and I'll get back to you. And so this is how we can show the validation message, multiple validation messages. And
Yeah, but here you are maintaining validation message for each input field, right? I mean, you
yeah.
have to maintain the same div and span structure for each input to show the validation.
For if you want to show this for each message, this is a way we don't have any other alternate approach for this.
Okay, so I mean, on submit we can't validate each field. We can't write such kind of methods here.
On submit, right? So on submit, that is the complex logic again. So we can each and every field have to just check and you have to show the message on that time. Anyway,
Yeah.
for that one, we have a flag here, right? So in that case, this is will not be helpful. So you have to use that particular star ngif, and that for that you have to use that method. Suppose, for example, I'll just comment it, okay, and here I'll completely comment this. But see, in that case, the entirely the structure will get updated. Suppose, for example, you have to initially this required field will not be available here. Okay, so it should not be required. So I'll remove this. Okay, and here I also remove this. Okay, now so we have to create a flag here, and at the time of submitting, okay, here at the moment user submit that, so I have to get that value. I'll show that. Have a message here, span, and this is the class, and my class is this. Please enter valid name. Okay, I'll use this message and star ngf valid name. This is my property. Okay, and I will make this. I'll create it here. The validation. This one public. This should be of type boolean initially. Okay, that is false. Now domain to submit this dot r form dot get, and the controller name would be f name. Okay, let me check this, and constant f name f name dot length is greater than 3, then this dot valid form is equal to 2. I'm just checking it. What is the length? I think this is value. Okay. Okay. Save it. Mobile. And 6. Okay. Now see, this is how you have to use like that. Please enter valid name. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, you
Is that
can.
clear?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how you have to show the message on submit of the form.
Okay.
Maintain each value, and this is how to keep manually for this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can just check reactive forms validation on submit. Let me check, is there any other way? Maybe it will be there. Okay. So value, zip code. Did they mention anything? Export. Where field submit component. Component, and then the form builder. These are the error messages. It's fine. Displaying. Let me check. Reactive forms. Okay. Now is also this provided, but it works only if you do not have required. See this. So if it will work only if it does not have required field, because the form but will not be enabled, right? Disabled. I mean the disabled will be always disabled. Not able to click it.
Okay. Yeah.
So this form, this fb.group and update on submit. Okay, we'll just check this. FB group. So I'll remove all this required field, okay, because you're not able to click that. That makes sense, right? In the required field initially.
Yep.
Okay, now if there any error on this field, I'm just checking the validation. Okay, there are anything not required. I think it is not working. What is that? Update on submit. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, I'll do one thing. I will cover that. I'll explore that and I'll get back to you. You have two questions, right? So one is with
Yeah, this one even I'll see if I can find something where if we explore, we'll get it anyway. So that is okay.
how
Anyways,
to
I'm clear with the concept.
validate the forms, reactive forms. Maybe it is there. It should be there. Reactive
Yeah, that's what. If I Google it, probably I'll find it anyways.
forms submit. And second question, how to validate uh, the field with multiple conditions, correct?
Yeah.
Conditions.
What I'll do is I'll try to create a form and I'll explore on this part and I'll
Yeah,
try
that is
to
better
create
to
a
you as well. You can
yeah.
explore it. Okay. This
Yeah, I'll try.
answers like
I'll take it as an assignment and I'll do it anyways. Let's see.
okay, not an issue.
And then I'll let you know if I have any doubts. First, I'll try to do it.
Okay.
That would be better.
Now can we move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, but there are multi. If you know JavaScript and HTML and some form of logic, right? Anyway, you can implement that. That is how I implemented with the layman words and layman approach, right? This is like that. You can
Yeah.
do that as well. So validation you can continue further. You can put this is how we can validate and you can forms fee like that. Now what I wanted to show you, I wanted to see like currently this is generating and completing one object here, right? The plain object. So this
Yes.
so I want to structure in a completely on an object. And currently the way we respond to the payload we send to the backend is entirely different thing, right? So that is how we can send the required format to the backend. I will show you that. What I'll do, I'll comment. I'll remove this all validation messages. Okay. Let it be like no issues. Or I'll remove it. Now inside this div, I'll create the form group name. Okay. That means all objects values will be wrapped into this object user info.
Okay.
So I'll be creating this, and this is, and also remove this public, and this is a sorry user info type any. Okay, and what I'll do, I'll cut this. Okay, and I'll use new form group and I'll dump this, and this would be my user info. I wrapped all object inside this one. So there is nothing changed in.
Group.
Let's see. Something if name control with this. What happened? Touched off on null. Nothing change.
Okay, now we have to maintain like user info.f name, right? But it's not like that here.
This was wrong. Okay. See, this is wrapped into an object, user info object. Now I can send this payload. You can design the way you need the structure from the form, because sometimes we need like user info address inside that, the primary address, secondary address. That how we can decide this. Is that clear?
Yeah.
This concept.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I need to load a form with some default value, because you submit this form. Okay. It load to server, and after that if you click on edit, that stored value should be repopulated into that forms, right? So that is how we can I'll explain that how we can do that. Okay, initially at the moment 0, I mean the initial value null, so I assume that I have received a value from a database. Okay, now I'm creating on a button. Okay, click load values and load form. I will create an object constant user info. Okay, this is my, sorry, not this, data, and inside that this is user info, and that, so I have to use same name, name. Okay, last name, and because it has to map with that form, email, not field, address. 4961 61, and after that addresses. So I assume that I got a data from server and I need to load to the form. Okay, this I have form reference, this dot r form dot set value. So this is a method, and directly I can pass the data object. It will map to that and it will display set value. Okay, I have button. See, this value is loaded to this one form. So suppose if I entered, see, minimum character 6, this f name, right? So I entered some, so the button will be disabled. See, this button is disabled because it has, while loading it validates and it do the necessary things. See, I can submit this. I can edit and submit. Okay, after submitting, I need to reset the form. Okay, so this is the way we expect, right, in all the forms. Dot reset method. The moment submits the user, I load the form and I do something edit, okay, and submit. So it clears the form. I have set this object. So this is all about the reactive forms. Any question on this?
No, it's clear.
Okay, and shall we continue the HTTP concept? I mean, the how to make service call, that is a new concept for today, or tomorrow we can cover.
How much time it will take?
That will take some 40 minutes.
Yeah, it is okay. Let's continue if you have time.
Okay, I have a time, not an issue. Uh, Otherwise, we do one thing. I
Mm-hmm.
will stop this service. I mean, video. It's better for
Mm-hmm.
you to refer it later. The reactive form. So we can. I'll enable one more call. Okay, and reinstate the.
Yeah,
And I'll discuss that topic in the next class. I mean, the fresh class.
understood. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So should I leave the meeting and you'll send
I'll send
me
it.
or
I'll
else?
send the request again.
Okay, fine.